Welcome back to Man versus Tech with Chris Pettigrew and Kyle Souza from the Intellis company. We've taken a long hiatus and spring break. Oh, it was nice going to the beach, hanging out, Easter, lots of stuff going on in the world. And so it's good to be back to Man versus Tech going live. We're out on LinkedIn. We're out on our YouTube channel. Check us out. Feel free to comment if you're viewing live right now. If not, you can always watch later on. Through all of our different sources and check out our videos. We even have our past ones loaded up so you can check out the topics that we got going on. So, let's kick it off. Let's get right into it. Today, we want to talk about the topic is Microsoft Power Apps, also low code, no code applications. So the kind of the theory and the ability of what's gone on with that in the past couple of years that has made life a little bit easier for the non-programmer and people who can kind of dabble in making applications as much as they're able to dabble in making some other things that are out there. So Kyle, what do you know about low code, no code apps? I mean, I've known you for quite a long time, 20 some odd years we've been around. I've watched you write programs. I watched you code programs like C# and .NET. Walk us through a little bit about maybe some of the differences between the old school, what I've seen you do, in the history of the now, and to where, some of the things that we're messing around with Microsoft Power Apps. I know we use the Google applications or app sheet as well. There's a QuickBase I've played around in a little bit, so I have some experience with some of these ones, but walk us through a little bit about what that looks like.
Yeah, there's a lot of no-code solutions. Amazon, Microsoft, Google, they all have their own flavor. Plus, then there's a bunch of other ones outside of that. But basically, it really reminds me of the early days of HTML, right? HTML came out, people could do websites, and you had to learn all these tags to do HTML websites. And then they came out with what you see is what you get, or WYSIWYG editors. And those would drag and drop, and I could drag some text, and it worked kind of like a Word document. I drag my text, I drag my box, I can make the box bigger, I can type in there. And then we got a lot of the websites that we got used to in the 90s. And then websites started becoming more advanced, and they were doing things that you couldn't see, right? Non-visual things. And so people went back to coding them, and then you started having things like PHP and ASP.NET and JavaScript, and all these things came about. And then HTML5 comes around, and the technologies have advanced sufficiently to where we're getting back to WYSIWYG editors on the web. And that's really where no code comes into, is these web applications more than the traditional desktop applications. With traditional desktop applications, you use an integrated development environment, or IDE, like Visual Studio, VS Code, NetBeans, Aptana, Eclipse, all these different IDEs, depending on which language you want and what features you want, or JetBrains, another popular one. And they have some drag and drop when it comes to UI, but really the UI is the small part of programming a desktop application. How it interacts with the operating system and hardware peripherals and the network and databases. Those are really the harder parts and the more time-consuming parts of writing an application. And so we're transitioning because we have so many mobile devices, right? I mean,
everything mobile.
Yeah. What I use on my Windows desktop does not work on an iPad and does not work on an Android phone. Now you have some large companies like Adobe that have created versions of Photoshop that work on all those different platforms. They even maintain separate code bases, at least in part, for that.
So you're saying that those operate independently?
Yeah.
It's not the same Adobe Pro that you load on your PC or Mac.
Right.
That you're going to get on your Android or iPhone or iPad.
Different files are being loaded. So when they make updates, they have to make changes in more than one place. They have to go through processes, all these things. It's not just one program anymore, even though we call it all Photoshop. It's multiple actual programs to load everywhere.
And you don't really see that. It's
no.
At the end, I have Adobe Photoshop and AI. I load it on my phone. It's sometimes they call them Express. Sometimes they call them some other kind of name. Usually it's limited to, certain functionality that you may not get on the desktop version.
Yep. That's pretty popular.
But yet, everybody's starting to get into these easy to do creator applications, right? So
Yeah,
I've been talking with people a lot about, the software in general that we use, okay, and the things that we do with software. And I was around when green screens were around, and we're from that era of introduction of really programs, software, and PCs into our world. And I think we're starting to do another crossover. A change is happening right now where low code development and applications are starting to take over the large coding softwares. I don't even want to call them applications, but softwares that are out there that people are used to having to get an exe file for. Back in the day, a CD-ROM, you would go to the store and buy the software on a disk. Now you just usually download it, floppy, a CD, a big box, it would come in. You'd have to have the activation keys. If you're anything like some people, you'd have the bootleg with the application key, Sharpied on the front. But that was always something that was, individual to that PC as well. Even sharing would require another user to install that same software, connect via something, and then share the database that it creates, right?
Yeah, software was either licensed per machine. Every time you installed it, you needed new code, or you created client-server licensing situations where you had a central database and machines connected to that. Then you have to deal with off-network machines. What happens when they disconnect? Really cause a problem for edge computing cases, all those things.
Yeah, some softwares would work with some computers and some wouldn't. It would depend on the RAM, the processor. Sometimes your equipment you would use would work or not with certain software. So, as we're now getting into this sharing situation, also easy to use, easy to build, kind of putting the engineer and the architectural abilities of software and applications into the hands of regular Joes, and say not computer programmers. You don't have to go to school to do a lot of this stuff. I've learned a lot of it through YouTube, a lot of it from you, a lot of it from working with programmers, but also just playing with it and taking some of the courses that it has and learning what you can do. So I started my journey with low code, no code with website building applications. GoDaddy has a pretty cool one. I built a website in maybe like a whole week. It was a whole storefront ready to go. Before that, I remember paying you at one of your companies. You had to build websites because you would build them all. And the WordPress was, the first jump forward from actually coding the website from what it looked like,
Content management systems were a big leap. Just like, the .NET framework and these libraries that you could reference for desktop applications or any online .NET applications, those were a big leap. But those were just files of code that you could reference. Right? Yeah, they were functions and things that people created that you could reuse that code, but it didn't build a program for you. If you opened up Visual Studio and you didn't know what to do, there's no figuring it out.
Right.
There isn't like, well, I'm just gonna play around and learn some .NET commands I get. Like, no, that's not how it works.
No, and there's no library built in that you can pull or crowdsource other people's work or information or templates, right? So I think we've seen this through like Word and Excel, where they've created certain templates. PowerPoint became a big scenario where, I remember making my first PowerPoints in the 90s, and there were some basic templates there, and that was really cool, compared. Now you get into it and you can really make some amazing slideshows. And there's even more than just PowerPoint that's out there. Now you have some web-based presentation applications that I'm starting to see that are really blowing people's minds and able to do some certain stuff. So, the low code, no code, or the Microsoft Power Apps, of course, we're a Microsoft certified provider over in Intellis, and we've really been playing a lot with Power Apps. We've messed with a lot of the low code, no code. To talk a little bit about that, I have some platforms pulled up, and Kyle had actually pulled up something pretty interesting. So we're going to go ahead and share what Gartner forecasts.
It's from the end of last year. So it's their 2023 outlook from December last year.
So low code, no code development for technologies market to grow 20% in 2023. Yeah. Look
it is that first line, the projected dollar amount.
$26.9 billion. Wow. Increase of 19.6 from 2022. And I think we're going to show in here in a second why. I mean, it's really a big deal. Before, whenever I would do stuff with software creators, website developers. I would have to sit down with them, and usually I would give them images or give them a vision, write down a flow chart, and then let them go to work. And then they would bring me back what they interpreted of what I wanted. Even better or more so if that programmer understood what I was talking about. It wasn't just a programmer. They actually had some experience into what we were creating.
Yeah, a little bit of subject matter expertise.
Yeah, big benefit of working with Kyle. He understands what I say. I understand what he says. But I've worked with programmers who have no clue about why I would want a software created. So they do what they can by my explanation. And it's almost like I've been using a lot of Chat GPT. I'll throw that out there. But how you speak to something in detail is what you get back.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of think about that when you're working with another person or you're working with especially programmers, is they really don't understand. I mean, I'm an energy land professional, and not a programmer in the world really grabs what I do or understands that completely.
You know, and it's interesting that you bring up ChatGPT. I was actually reading an article yesterday about small and medium businesses, privately owned businesses, especially using ChatGPT, and how it really doesn't have anything to offer them. ChatGPT cannot unload a truck. ChatGPT cannot assemble machinery parts. ChatGPT cannot run an assembly line, right? ChatGPT can't do that. And so there are a ton of businesses out there that feel like they can't really take advantage of all this new technology coming out that we get excited about in the tech world. But these small businesses can take advantage of low-code app development. That's something that they could do today that might help streamline some processes, maybe cut some costs, unify workflows, and they could do that. And it's not ChatGPT, it's low-code application development.
No, yesterday we were on a call together, and the client brought up ChatGPT. We were explaining intelligent document processing and robotic process automation and some workflow stuff for the company, right? And they happened to just say, yeah, ChatGPT could probably do some of this stuff, very casually. And I listened to upper management have a chat about that for a minute. I had to step in and say, hey, guys, I've already tried to throw or copy and paste an entire oil and gas lease, okay, because I'm in the energy industry, into ChatGPT and tell it to give me the answers. Yeah. And it didn't do it. Okay. Right. It doesn't take an invoice and make it into I even say make it into an Excel template that I can upload and copy and paste into Excel. It doesn't do that. Okay. Right. So ChatGPT is a talking piece right now. Okay. Yeah. Now where it goes to, we don't know. Be careful what you see out there on the internet. Okay. Not everything's true, because I've seen some people even say, well, you could take ChatGPT and pair it with another thing, and it's like making games. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I don't know, but I've also seen a lot of other stuff about ChatGPT that I noticed it doesn't do, because I've tried it. I've typed in some of the goofy things I see on social media, other platforms. I think people are just having fun with the fact that it's there, and then you have a lot of fake, what is it, deep fake maybe in ChatGPT going on with that. Yep. But it's funny how many people don't really understand what it does at the end of the day, and it's just such a hype right now. It's like, what can you do with it? And nobody's like, we don't know what to do with it. And anyways, we've done a ChatGPT topic. We'll be doing another one about ChatGPT 4 here coming up pretty soon. But going back to our topic on the low code, no code, and then we'll get some into Power Apps. There's many different systems that are out there. We like Microsoft, and I've dealt with the Google app sheets. I've also built in QuickBase. I actually built up a pretty basic oil and gas land system in about a week using QuickBase one time. Yeah. And so that was pretty awesome. I am not a computer programmer. I do not write code. I do have some experience with drag and drop templates and how to change pixels. There's certain applications out there like Canva. Adobe is offering a new content creation like Canva now, where you can go in and create social media posts and things like that. This is all along those lines. I mean, to be able to create your own marketing things online, load pictures, have an invoice made, or not an invoice, but maybe like a flyer made, or you want to build a big backdrop for something, send that over to a printer. That used to be what you would go to a whole design studio for and pay someone to do, and then give them, again, explain my vision to you and hope that person comes back with the same vision. These are now different ways that you can take control and you can build out certain pieces. and start creating what you call applications. So to me, software applications gets used together. But I like to say that software is like the old style. It's something that's used to be. It's the PC ran. It's the individual computer. It's not really web-based or SaaS. It's not easy to build. You need a programmer.
You do need a programmer.
And it lives within its own realm, really.
Yeah.
If you want to add to it, you have to have that programmer add to the software, build out another addition or a build on to the software. With these quick applications, there are so many fast ways that you're able to just create many different applications, then pair them together using a database, and then you could feed into your own software that you may have that you need around. Maybe it's a financial software, maybe it's something that is SOX compliant that you must run. Okay. But if you can connect a database to it, you can get data from it. Right. And we all know that.
And so I also want to throw AWS Honeycode out there. I believe it's the Amazon product as these things get siloed into environments. You have that. And then, I don't think that traditional software is going away anytime, but I think of it kind of like car models, right?
Right.
Like the base model of a car, what percentage different is that than the higher end version of the car, right? How different is the regular Expedition versus the Eddie Bauer Expedition? It's not really that different. And so the low code version is kind of like that regular Expedition. And then, because there are things you can do in traditional software environment that are hard or impossible depending on which low code solution you go with. There may be, a part where it hits a wall, but for 80-90% of people, low code can do everything that they need. So unless you're one of those edge cases, this has everything you need.
Absolutely. We are on the verge of low code, no code. I think it's kind of just started. I don't want to get really into the details of the exact date low code, no code came in I'm not, going to get into that, but I can say 2-3 years ago, this was something I was kind of playing with.
Yeah.
And it had a lot of limitations. Even when I would call support, they would admit to those limitations. And most of it was that we were trying to throw lots of data into it. It just couldn't handle the amount of data we wanted to populate and show. And they had to admit, we built this for 1,000 records, not 10,000 records. Okay, that's where you need to go to the software guys. So I think we're in a transition. I think I agree with you. Software isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Your biggest power players, your biggest need for something built within your own realm. I mean, that's again, if you want to build it, you want to keep it on your own server, you want to keep it within the four walls, have nobody else have access to it, not whatsoever, ever. The full protection falls upon you. You build your own team, you build your own software. I mean, it's out there. But you're right, 80-90% of the average either personal or business user out there could come in and start using these low code, no code apps to start really adapting technology into something where before maybe you were doing it by hand.
Yeah. Well,
maybe you were doing it in Excel and you had 20 Excel spreadsheets, and you're trying to keep track of all this stuff and none of them talk to each other. And so,
it kind of reminds me of clothing, right? If you go to Target or any clothing store, you're buying something off the shelf, right? So that's like a software somebody sells. You're getting it off the shelf.
Ready to go.
On the opposite end is you could have something entirely custom made for you, right? Somebody could hand sew something, you get a custom tailored suit. That's nice, right?
Yeah.
That's on high end. But in between that are these Shopify shops where you get to pick the color of shirt, you get to pick the graphic that goes on it, you get to pick the size, you get to pick maybe the style of the shirt, short sleeve, long sleeve, A shirt, 3/4 raglan tee. You have these options, and that's kind of what low code is. It's right in between.
Yeah,
you get what you get and you don't throw a fit, and all the way custom. It's in the middle there.
It's like the Men's Warehouse for suits.
Yeah.
It's not all the way custom, but you get it tailored up and they do a little stretching and you got a pretty nice suit going on right there.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. No, I agree with you completely. And my excitement behind all this is the fact that we're starting to see more and more and more conventions, more of regular people that are starting to get more tech oriented. This kind of takes me back to like that son or a grandkid who goes in and helps out their mom or grandparents on certain technology stuff, or they built a budget builder, or they kind of created something to help things work properly, or maybe they set up all of their online bill pay through Wells Fargo. It's not the fact that grandma or grandpa couldn't do it if they were showed. Maybe they just didn't want to, so they came in and did it, right? So this is something else that, again, if you're a small base business, you're a personal person, you want to start building some applications, pick it up, do some YouTubing, take some of the Power Apps classes. They're
very
free.
Low barrier to entry.
Low barrier to entry. And what's even cooler is if you guys are watching this, you can come right in here and there is templates you can start from. So you can actually literally take a blank app and make anything from scratch if you want to.
Yep.
You can take in the Dataverse a table. So you go to the Dataverse table and pull it. You can connect to SharePoint, Excel. If you have an Excel table, you can drop it in here and it will automatically create a Power App based upon the table you drop in. It may not be that pretty, but it'll have all your headers and it'll have the ability to entry whatever that header was. You can connect it directly to SQL and it will auto-populate. You can do it from an image and you can do it from a Figma UI. Now, there is an API that does connect into almost all of these quick low-code, no-code apps, so you can send your data and information to somewhere else. What we have found is that you don't really build one big app. You build lots of little apps, and then they all
for different things.
become a thing. So it's kind of like Windows, going back, like, we always had before one screen, one thing open. Then Windows did the fact that you could have multiple things in one screen. Then now we have 2 monitors or 6 monitors. And then how many things you can put on all 6 of those monitors?
Like we call it Microsoft Office or Office 365, but really it's Word. Word is its own app. It's a really good word processor. Excel is its own application that does spreadsheets. PowerPoint doesn't do spreadsheets.
That's right.
PowerPoint does slideshows. And so you have this ecosystem that you create that does all the different parts that you need to, with each part just focused on its 1 or 2 jobs.
So let's say you are working, maybe you're a volunteer at school, and on the personal level, you go set up a Microsoft Power Apps account. This is within the Microsoft Power universe. Okay. They have the Power BI, other Power platforms,
Power Automate,
Microsoft 365. You can get Power Apps to 365. What's the threshold to get in? Like $25 will give you the ability to log into and create apps.
Yeah. $25 a month for the unlimited app package.
Don't hold us to it. We're just talking. But go check it out at Microsoft. So, I'm a volunteer at my kid's school. I'm running a fundraiser. I want to do something for the first grade. So, you can go in here. That's nice, Chris. You're a nice guy, right? I'm a PTO dad. What's the fundraiser name? You can go in here and you can change the app name. What's going on here? It's not letting me click. Oh, there we go. So I want to change it. I'm not.
I think you have to create it and then change it.
Go ahead and create it. Here we're going to create a new environment. What is going on? This is just working as I go.
Oh yeah, it just worked on the last one we did when we were testing it.
I picked the My Expenses app.
There you go.
Okay, maybe it didn't like that one. Nevertheless, pause, rego. That one looks like it actually connects to SharePoint. Yep. I noticed that
the SharePoint logo.
The SharePoint logo was there, and it wants me to allow my access to SharePoint at this point in time. So here we're connected to a content management system. And I believe, what did I click on? The expenses one. So this is the Power Apps right here. It gives you an ability to see the preview of the app, and you can just go ahead and open the application. Here it is. Now this is your builder of the app. So it's already ready. You want to have an expense. You have how many are open. Now this is because it's in the builder, it doesn't work. But if I go up here and I click to preview the app and make it viable, I can go in here and say which ones are open.
Yeah.
And start clicking. And this is already created for me. I did nothing to make this expense app in here.
Right. And so now it's just a matter of, do you want to customize it? Maybe it's something as simple as aesthetics, the colors. You like different colors. Okay, you can change that. Maybe it's something more complicated where, we have our status of open, pending, and total. Maybe you want a rejected status, and you need to create a summary of your rejected. You can now create that classification of rejected expenses and put a button on the home screen so you can see all the rejected expenses.
There you go. So take what they built. That's pretty awesome that you're able to do that. I just keyed in a new expense. We have some pending stuff in here. We have an approved ones. We have all of them. You have all of them down to what you've approved, what you have pending. You want to add in a new expense report. It's already there.
Yep.
So if you want to mess with this, all you have to do is close out the preview And now you're able to come in here and kind of play around with what things look like the filter table and the label. You're able to change things from bold to semi-bold, italics, where you want the letters to be and how you want things to look. So you can see right there, we have this as what's selected right there, the filter label. You have your My Expenses. You even have certain codes there, like if you know your color numbers, and you can do all this. Same thing you're going to get in a lot of the Adobe or Canva or building applications you can do inside of here. You can kind of play around with it. You can make things look a little bit differently. You can add new things to it. You can add a new expense. You can add an ability. I didn't see an upload ability for an image, but I know that that's a capability.
Yeah, you
an
can
image
add
saver
that. And
inside
so
here.
you can create new screens. You can add existing, types of things. So if you want to do inputs, if you want to upload a picture, let's see, that's somewhere in here. There you go. So if you want to put images on there, you can put images on there. You can do all sorts of stuff. And these are all just the things that you can add to it that's already been built out. Drag and drop or go replace it, go.
What are those all the icons you can put on there that are pre-built? Yep. I mean, notice how they're the standard icons that everybody's used to, the undo button, or the most of them look like Microsoft icons if you've been using a lot of the Microsoft stuff. Yeah. So as you build Power Apps,
you could add a pie chart to it.
So you can see your expenses.
And you can see like how much have been pending versus approved versus rejected. And so then you got to tie these things together, but you can do that pretty easily.
Yeah. So there you go. Pie chart's already created. Details are just need to be tied back to what it's coming from. And now you have that added to your application. These applications work on, they're really made. And if you can look at it, what does it look like? It looks like from a cell phone or a tablet more than anything else, right? So they call them apps. First. They are mobile first, and they read pretty well actually on a PC. I mean, if you were to look at what the preview looks like, I mean, that's what it looks like. It's not too bad. You do have a lot of kind of blank space in here, but I can see it pretty well. I'm able to use what I need to use. You can always
have it take up half your screen. If you shove it off to the side, you have it running full time.
True.
If it's a time tracker or something, you may just want that to hang out on the side of your screen.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool preloaded applications that are in here. I'm going to go back and just don't worry about the changes. Don't save. And there's other apps. I mean, I was kind of playing in here. An inventory management app, a cost estimator app, property management, a quick task, a to-do list. There you go. Make your to-do list. Out of office situation. So
that out of office one, like a leave request, right? That's how that's traditionally done on paper. Maybe somebody sends an email, right? Emails can be missed. Somebody may not see the email, right? You might accidentally type in the wrong email address. You might send it to the wrong person,
right?
Or if you fill out a piece of paper, maybe your handwriting's like mine. And are they out on the 3rd or the 8th, right? Well, if you have an application, you get to go paperless, so that's great. But also, I'm doing a web app here. People can fill it out whenever they're thinking about it. They don't have to wait till they get to the office and get the special piece of paper to fill out, and they don't have to remember to do that. They can do it when they're thinking about it.
They can do it from their phone before they go to bed.
They can do it from when they go to bed, and they can go pick the dates on the calendar inside the app, and then it's asking for permission to access those resources. They can.
This will just look cool, so I figured I'd choose it.
It does, yeah. So they can go pick the dates, and there's no ambiguity, right? If they go pick the date, that's the date, and it gets entered into the database, and it can automatically send an email, and there's no opportunities for miscommunication.
Yeah, on that note, what are we doing right now? We're starting to move from kind of older standard operating procedures, go to HR, fill out the HR form, scan it in, email it to HR, they approve it.
Yeah.
What if you could do it all through the apps? Put your submission in there. It hits and tells the person in HR. HR approves it through the app. It goes up to upper management. That then sends out a calendar invite to everybody to let you know that these people are off. Or through the application, every day you can log in and see which people you had time off on, which ones took a vacation day. Let's say somebody is, the old, I'm sick today, and they call in. Oh, I'm sick. I don't feel good. Oh, I got to call in my boss because that's a company policy. They could wake up that morning, and you like us, we got a bunch of kids. One kid's vomiting, not doing very well. I'm just going to go right to my app. I don't need to call Chris. I don't want to bother anybody. and type in kids sick today, working from home. Boom, instantly it's in the application. There's no document to fill out, no phone number to pick up, no text. And it can go to all the people that need to be notified. Because that's usually the problem with the one-stop shop situation is you may call me and say, Chris, I got to go, some family emergency. But we didn't tell all the other 15 people up here that Kyle's out today, and then they're all looking for Kyle. Chris has gone into 16 meetings. He's not sharing the Kyle message. And then at 1 o'clock, people pop out and they're like, where's Kyle at? But Kyle did it 7:45 in the morning, tell the right people through the application, though. It could have went to all the important people.
Could have gone to everybody.
The whole entire place could have known about it. Right. And so that in the world that we work in right now, the working from home, the working in office, just the kind of I guess I want to call it maybe like leisurely workforce that we have compared to the old must be in at desk at 9 a.m. type situation. We need to adapt certain technologies for us to survive. You can't get me that piece of paper if you're not here. I think that's another thing too. What do? You got to fill it out and scan it. You take a picture of your phone and text it to me. Now it's in my SMS text. There's too many places that this goes to that things don't end up happening. So you can pick up these type of applications, and let's say you're a small business out there, you're a print shop, you're a nail salon. Get in here and start creating an inventory tracker, something that takes you away from that checklist.
And you don't need
that comes in every day.
Enterprise, ERP system or the whole enterprise HR system. Those are great. And if you're a Fortune 1000 company, go for it.
Right.
But most people don't need the fully integrated 90 plus functions, full suite of everything that controls that entire world, right? They're just like, no, I just need to make this part of my life easier.
That's what these are about to me. Yeah, they do. They can make small things easier. Maybe I don't need to buy an entire QuickBooks. Maybe I just want a budget and an accounting tracker so I can see my monthly bills.
Yeah. Well,
maybe I don't want to put it into an application on a phone that talks to Credit Karma directly, because that's what a lot of those things are. Quicken has one that you can go track your bills on. But what is that doing? It's putting it all into their database, or they're sourcing your information, right? And then Lord knows what they're doing with that at the end that you signed up with the EULA. Not knocking any of those things. Go for it. They're listening anyways. So, but what if you want to build your own? What if you want it more customizable to you? What if you don't need all those certain things that are in there? I could see this as a weight loss tracker, people who want to track what they eat, what they do. I know that there's tons of people out there that spend hundreds of dollars a month with programs and applications in their phone just so they can type in how much calories they ate, what they ate for the day, how many glasses of water that they drank, just to keep up with their general health at the end of the day. You can build one of these and it could be in your phone, just like the ones that are being offered out there. And it's your own personal stuff. It's yours. It's not a source to anybody else. It's not shared out there. The data, your weight's not being shared amongst the world to say that the average this age person weighs this much from Houston, Texas. Because that's what a lot of people are doing with the data that's out there at the end of the day.
And you either access it on the computer through a web browser or on your mobile device. They have an app. You just download the Power Apps app and it gives you access to all the apps that are part of your environment.
And you can build on the app on your mobile device.
You can.
It is a little bit more limited than building in the desktop application, but it has most of the functionality in there. I've even gone through and changed things in the mobile app and it saves it across the board. I think this is really the way. Not saying low code, no code is the way, but I just like the whole template idea.
Well, it's easy to access, right?
Yeah, I didn't have to sit down and explain to Kyle that I want an appointment creator and he has to go write a bunch of code to get me to this point just for me to tell him, I don't like this, or that isn't how it needs to look, or whatever it may be. I mean, instantly we have, this is appointments, orders, products, attachments, review, send out.
And I've been
for an estimations.
I've been in product packages or product, meetings where somebody with authority says, you know what, we need to move this function from the header to the footer. It needs to go from the top to the bottom. And it's like, okay, well, that's part of a totally different class. Like it's a
rewriting
lot
the software to
it's going to take me 15 hours to move this button from the top to the bottom. And for whatever reason, that's what it takes. Well, here you can just drag and drop. You just move it.
You
Like,
do.
it's not hard.
You go in here, you move it around,
Yeah.
you create these tables. I mean, this is all table information: header, the recipient, 10 keyed in. You can make drop down boxes. You're right. I mean, doing customization, having somebody, and that's usually what it is, right? I don't like how it looks. I want more detail. I don't want more detail. I like it this way. I don't like it this way.
Because aesthetics really is like 10% of the program as a whole is going to be aesthetics. The bulk of a desktop application is the back end.
Yeah.
But it's where you end up spending so much of your time because it's what people see and what they take issue with.
What they see and what they take. I love that. That's exactly correct. Here's a help desk one. I mean, basically, so if you're running a small IT company and we've looked at help desk programs. I mean, they run from a lot of them SaaS at $50 a month per user, and take a whole tech team and put that on at $50 a month per user at 10 users, $500 a month.
And maybe Dell Support Assist needs that. Maybe they need that enterprise system.
Are you Dell?
But if you've got a 30-person company and you've got people out in the field and you just need a way for them to be able to say, hey, the GPS on my truck isn't working. Hey, this isn't working. Hey, I need a new iPad because it got run over by a backhoe. If you just need that, then you don't need these, enterprise level systems. This gives you a way to manage it that isn't just an email of, hey, my printer isn't working. Well, I sent that to the IT guy, and he's like, well, I have no idea what kind of priority that is. I'm still going through the other 40 emails I got this week of problems to figure out what's what. It organizes everything, gives people one place to look. And, and this is technology that small businesses can take advantage of today. We were talking earlier about how there's a lot of businesses that can't use something like ChatGPT, right? ChatGPT can't.
It just doesn't do anything.
Yeah, it doesn't do the physical things that they need. This helps them do those physical things.
I mean, if I was running a small lawn service company and I wanted to have some software that tracked all my, invoices, maybe track where my crew was going, scheduled them out. I know that there's some Bing application that goes into this that you can even do some GPS scenarios. And you could be a very small business with 5 crews running yards, and what software is out there for you that maybe break the bank could break the bank. I mean, or is there a yard software? I don't know. We can Google that after we're done with our show today. Or what if I'm a U-Haul company, or I mean, I'm sure U-Haul does their own stuff, but let's say I'm renting out trucks, or maybe I'm running a small storage unit in the middle of nowhere. I'm a family business and I want to track who's in the unit, when's their next rent due, and just have a nice software. I can build this. If I got a little bit of talent and a little bit of video watching, I could literally build something up, and the cost to me is very minimal. And now I have the same power in my hands that this very expensive U-Haul software would have.
Well, it's like I think storage unit's a great idea. If I go to the CubeSmart website, because I recently got a storage unit, if I go to the CubeSmart website, I can register for a unit. I can pick which location I want to use. They can issue me a unit number. I can pay online. All that's done. CubeSmart's a nationwide company.
Huge.
If you're a mom and pop shop, you can now build that same form where you can put in all your available unit numbers. Somebody can go pick it, what size unit do you want? I need a 10 by 10, or I need a 5 by 5. And it limits down that list based on the attribute table that you put in there. So you basically create a spreadsheet of all your units. Here's how big they are. Here's how much they cost.
Whether they're available or not.
Whether it's available or not.
So you're saying they could sign on and actually do the same processing that CubeSmart does by you building the application.
And you do your build from spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And you probably, if you're running that, you probably have a spreadsheet that lists all your units and who's in them and everything. So you could take that spreadsheet, upload it, and start building an app today.
That's true. And remember, you can upload the spreadsheet and it will start an app for you.
Yeah.
Right?
And then you either get a new
you can build from there.
You can also embed these on other things. So if you have a website, you can take this app and embed it on that website. It doesn't have to be standalone.
Yes. And so Microsoft, side note, does have the Power Sites going on right now. Again, DIY, easy build it yourself websites, but can connect to Power Apps, can connect to things like Power BI, connect all the way. The whole Power universe connects together at the end of the day.
Yep.
So if you're not building with Microsoft Power within that world, it does adapt, and you can hook this into another hosted website somewhere else. So yes, now you have a web interface for your company, but you build, you control, you take care of this. I mean, how many people are out there that if they just could take the time, could improve their lives with a little bit of work, a little bit of elbow grease.
Save yourself a couple hours every week. What's that mean to save 2 hours a week?
10 hours every week at some point in time. At some point, it becomes all the way automated, and now we're not tracking it with the old spreadsheet and pencil about who's going to do what and see what's going on. I mean, this can apply to so many different things. Food truck vendors. You want to keep control of your inventory. You want to keep control of what your Square is saying. You want to do analytics or anything like that. You can do all this by yourself, and you don't have to go to a computer programmer or a website builder. You could do it by yourself. Again, now you just have to find the time.
You can. Yeah, if you have time. And, that's a good point, though. There are people like us who specialize in Power Apps development.
Right.
And there are things that you can do with it that maybe you don't want to do it yourself or can't do it yourself for whatever reason, or maybe it is more advanced, because there are advanced functions, if you know programming, that you can include in this low code. It's not only no code, right? It's an option. So there are more advanced things you can do with coding, but we can take what might be a traditional application development timeline of 2 years and make it 6 months, 1 year and make it 2 months.
Shameless plug. Intellis does do Power App applications, so we do create them.
Yes, so. But I'm saying, like, you can go to a set of professionals and still reduce cost by going low code, even though you have professionals.
I know we've done that. We've consulted with other Power App makers just to get ideas or to help them, ask them questions, maybe things that instead of us tinkering with it or wasting time, you can get a hold of somebody through Power Apps, find people who really build these things. And they're like, oh yeah, here's exactly what you got to do. Or maybe they kind of whip it up for you because you can share the app with those people if you wanted to. So you can even build with a Power Apps builder that's out there. This goes into like that crowdsourcing idea, what Fiverr, all the different ones that are out there that you can ask things to. There's people that do build Power Apps on Fiverr. It's not $5 anymore, but you can also go through Power Apps and find other people to do it. Most of that we've learned how to do has been just free courses through Microsoft and other builders that are offering free courses. And they'll send you out emails all the time about, oh, we're offering this course. If you want to talk to us, we're a heavy, big Power Apps. Of course, they're doing the courses so you can start to learn who they are. And we've even found some pretty cool Power Apps builders through those courses, and then got to get some good advice from them. So I know I've seen things like map plotting. I've seen a similar, like a Zillow, something like that built through this. So if you're a real estate person or you're running a real estate company.
I saw one, a county government parks department up in or wherever it was, but they had it where you could report issues to the park, and then Leslie Knope would send somebody out. No, you could report issues to the park, like, hey, this swing is broken. And everything, and that's running on a government website.
I mean, wouldn't that be cool if you're out at the park with your kids and there's a barcode, a QR code on there, see the problem, and then you just scan it with your phone, it loads up a Power App. You can take a picture of the problem.
That's exactly
what it was. You could write it down, and then somebody on there and gets notified that some kids came out and drew graffiti all over the playground last night, and other than a guy running from park to park, because I think that's usually how I see it, is some park ranger or security personnel or person that works for the district shows up, and how quick do they react to those type of things? So like a broken piece of equipment could be a danger, and now you're limiting liability. You're allowing the public to participate in certain things. Let's make a pothole app for Houston. I'm sure there probably is somebody out there that already has,
It's kind of like self-checkout for city works.
And then we'll connect it to Harris County and like, just go to our app and we'll tell you where GPS located, where all the problem with the potholes are, any issues that you have. You can make these kind of things. You can create them. Another thing that you can do is if you want to get into the market, you can get Power Apps and you can build apps and you can sell users to those apps. So it's also something you can create a building of a business out of at the end of the day. I'm really excited about the application processes and the application builders that are out there. I think this is a really awesome one right here. Like, just straight up, I made a ticket. I would add in maybe an image so I could take it with my phone and upload it directly to it of what's going on. I'm in a couple of IT groups. I don't know how many times they make fun. People are like, well, I plugged in the wrong plug and they got I don't know how many people actually run a printer cable anymore, but it's plugged into the network adapter and they're wondering why it won't work. What if you could have had that, like, take a picture of the back of the printer and the IT guy could literally write back and go, okay, it's in the wrong plug. instead of them going up 17 floors or driving somewhere, all to find out that, well, you didn't put the plug in the right place, right? Yep. So how many things can we use this technology for communication pieces? In Kyle's point, getting away from the paper, getting away from the manual communication, the outside communications that people aren't going to be able to talk about. We're on the forefront of all this stuff because now it's in the people's hands.
It is early on.
It's early on.
As far as the life cycle is concerned. When you look at established things, like software's been around for half a century.
And you always had to have a Kyle to make the software. Yeah. I think that's what's happening right now. And you can't please everybody. So you're going to get something basic. Is this ticket going to be the best thing for all IT professionals and IT companies? I doubt it. No. I really do.
It won't be everything for everybody, but it's most of what most people need.
I mean, I know the one that we use internally has almost all of this stuff in it, plus some more. I'm sure we could probably build one out and just ditch the software if we wanted to. Yeah. Sometimes think about cost. Does it make sense for you to do this? How much work do you want to put into it? A lot of people, just like making things. And so I've spent I remember about 5 years ago is when I first started building websites with a couple of different simple website builders, one of them being GoDaddy, and it was limited. There was still some things that you were doing that I couldn't pull off that, I just didn't understand from writing the code in itself. But even today, building these sites have gotten so much further. So I'm excited to see in the next 5 years what these applications do and how far we're actually able to actually bridge the gap between the software and the applications. And then when do we start to see the rollover of one to the other? And now we're living in the mobile world, the totally connected world at all points in times. And I think that's what's going to drive it. Software just is not connected all the time. It's really tough to connect all those things from an individual PC to another PC all the time. Whereas hosting databases in the cloud that feed into certain stuff that can be just shared as an application is way easier to do.
It is. And then it leaves the back end on the back end and people get to work through the front end to design it.
Yeah. Yeah. So here you are. I mean, now you too can make software or applications. And, if you get, you got to get into a little bit. It's not for the novice, but hey, if you got a little bit of ingenuity, you're creative, you could really get in there and start creating some really awesome stuff at the end of the day.
I think anybody interested could figure it out. I think that's really what it takes is just somebody who wants to do it.
There's plenty of training. There's plenty of YouTube. There's plenty of Microsoft Power Apps offering trainings. And then again, you can contact me or Kyle. We'd be more than happy to talk with you about our path with Power Apps. We got some really cool stuff going on with it. Yeah. We've actually built a bunch of apps that we actually use, and we're really happy with them so far. So get out there, check out the different low code, no code, check out the different applications. But for now, this is man versus tech. Kyle, what do you think, man? Does man win this one? Does tech win this one? Which way does it go?
Well, I think ultimately man wins, but the technology here, I think, is better than any manual option, right? If you had to do appointment setting by hand, this is better.
Yeah.
If you had to do any of those things we talked about, timesheet tracking, inventory, all that by hand, the technology is better. So the technology wins in that respect. But the people who use that technology are the real winners.
That's true. I'm gonna have to say tech on this one because the tech is starting to now give regular man the ability to build inside of it.
Yeah.
And to utilize that and not be restrained and have to go find a source to do what you want it to do.
Yeah.
My problem with software is my entire life has been it doesn't really do what I want it to do.
Yeah.
And now I can sit down and go, man, I want this to do this. And if I have enough in it with me or maybe with somebody else, together we can build that out and it's easier for me to see. So tech has come a long way, and you're right. Most of the stuff that we're seeing here actually is just the next step from, just holding like Excel spreadsheets everywhere that have pivot tables that tell you certain things. Key in February's expenses, and you'll see the year month over month tracker. You can do the same type of stuff with these Power Apps, but it doesn't require an Excel expert. And I still think those are very limited as well. There's not a ton of people out there who really know how to dance around in Excel.
Yeah.
So those of you who do, you already have a leg up into the Power App situation and all
You
these
do.
low-code apps. You really do. So if you're an Excel user, you're fancy with it, you know a little bit about it, don't be scared about getting into the applications. I think you should actually start to look into it. I'm really excited about Power BI and some of the dashboards. Even the newest Power BI looks like a super big Excel to me. So it really does some cool stuff that you would have to type out in Excel as more. Now there's some auto buttons and things like that inside of it for making reports and analyzing data.
Yeah.
So it's Chris and Kyle, Man versus Tech. Check us out every week. We'll be on around 11. Today we're doing it on a Tuesday. Normally we're on Wednesdays, but we're going to start doing these every week. We'll figure out what we do. You'll be able to see us on all of our platforms. We'll have the topic out. And again, please comment, like, share, contact us. You know where to get a hold of us. You can hit us up on email, call the office, comment on LinkedIn, go to YouTube, make comments. We'd love to hear from our audience. Other than that, you guys have a great week and go check out technology.
Thank you.